Yeah, definitely disappointing season for us last year. And, I think, hard for me from a pregnancy standpoint and then missing so much and all of that. It definitely was a tough year. And, one, I didn't realize how much energy it takes to be pregnant and coach. It's nice not to have that anymore, even with the little one not sleeping as much at night. So much more energy than I experienced last year. So, but the team is really great. We've had two scrimmages already with William and Mary and Duke, and I think challenging ourselves right off the bat. We've got, a really talented um, mix of newcomers. And then Mary, Lou, Soraya, and Izzy, being a part of our core coming back. It's been a fun summer with them. It's a really, really great group. And, I'm excited for next week. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we took from the Duke scrimmage was the level of physicality, right? They're eighth in the country, top in the ACC. There's the new rules this year with not the hot stove where you can put your hands on. It was helpful for some of our international players. They're like, of course. For our, usual players right now, it's a big change. It's a big change in the women's game, and I think for us that was one of the things that we took away quite a bit from Duke was that we've got to be more physical on both sides of the floor. It was a good experience for us, and I think it showed us, hey, where we can play and where we can go, and some of the things that we still need to get better at. Yeah, I think it's like, Coach Martelli and I were talking about this yesterday too. It's just that time of the year, like your coaches, you're trying to get, everything in and get us as connected as you can be. And then, gosh, the team just loves playing against somebody else. There's only so many scrimmages against our male practice squad and against us that the excitement of playing an opponent, I think the closer you get, that definitely starts to come through. But yeah, I think we're getting there. I think it'll be a process. Like I said, we have 10 newcomers, very talented. It's just that connection piece and getting them, some of the details of how we play, just taking a little bit of time. But every week, I see the improvements and excited for them for, like I said, for next week. I think one of the probably the most challenging piece. It's not the recruiting piece. Obviously, you're trying to figure out the revenue and the money through all that. I mean, that's so different than coaches that have been doing this for a while. I think it's how long it takes or how quickly you can get the players to trust you. Right. I think one of the things that we really take pride in is that we have good relationships with our players and they trust you on and off the court. And so, the X's and O's, you're trying to get everybody together. We brought officials in all summer. We scrimmaged every week all summer to get them in that game feel and learning about each other. But I think it's just the trust. That is something that in this new era is, I think, really different for coaches. I think it's one of the interesting dynamics, right? Is your players have great years, and they're gonna get poached, right? And then you have a tough year, right? And then they're like, oh, the grass is greener, right? And so I think for coaches, as you're trying to talk about what your culture values are and your how you develop the team mentality, I think that's the part that is unique now that I'm still, figuring out how to do it. It was really important for us to keep Mary. hence us going to play, Villanova and Toronto. We get our home game. It also works out for Patricia, one of our freshmen that's Canadian. But I think you're looking at how important your relationships are. Obviously, the revenue share is a big piece, but it does change the dynamics of how you build the culture.
To that point, what does it do for everyone else around her, just for program continuity when you are able to retain the player like in today's day and age?
Yeah, I mean, both her and Lou are our captains, and there's a consistency there from the way that they practice, the way that they, do all the little things that have been really important and a part of our success. And I think it's great to see, Lou, who barely, was learning, English from YouTube her freshman year, to standing up on the stage and talking, at some of our events. It's great to see. And then Mary, the same thing with the development of her coming in her freshman year. I think she shot 16% from 3-point line, then 40, then 47, then preseason first team, all conference. And hey, this is what we're showing our player development is like. So to be able to keep both of them was really important. And they from our team chemistry standpoint, they get it. They know what it's all about, and they've been really instrumental in getting the newcomers all connected too.
I, as a coach in today's day and age, to see that development over the course of years when you are able to have a player like that with you for an extended period.
Yeah, and it's a little bit funny too because you're playing all these power fours or whatever you want to say, and then they want your players, and you're like, I think what we have learned so much going through this recruiting, portal and all of that kind of stuff is how much more emphasis we do put on player development and why so many programs want our players. It's interesting, all of the individual stuff that we do, all the individual film, all the individual workouts, and the growth that our players go through. It becomes it becomes harder to keep them, but it's also on the flip side a compliment.
How Mary handled, I guess, her responsibility change and leadership change from, let's say, last year to right now?
Yeah, I mean, Mary and I talked about it. Last year was really challenging, probably more so from a chemistry standpoint and some of the things that were just difficult last year. And I think, for her, it was really good growth to go through. Had been part of really 26 wins the year before. Expected a lot coming back. Then some really difficult things and tight games and things like that, and disappointing to this year to being like, okay, there's such a different feel for the way we immediately started the summer, the way that, we have some really high level players that have come from, a lot of different programs. And now I think she feels like on the floor, she's got a lot more support. So it's really just working some of that connection piece. But I think a big growth for her is just the continuance of her voice. It's one of the things she said when she was playing with the Canadian Olympic team, 2 summers ago, was everybody on the pro level talks. It's what's great about having Taya Robinson back. She jumps into practice and, she makes our male practice team better. Our 6'6" guys and 6'5" guys that don't know pick and roll and some of the things, she just talks them through it. And, I think she brings a different element to our practices as well that I'm, really excited that she's back on staff.
To bring back to you had his 1 year, you coached her, and how important was that to bring somebody of her stature her level?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. I mean, she finished up in Bulgaria being, hitting 11 for 12 and winning the championship. She had a huge contract that she could have gone back and played in Poland. A little bit of her knees, that was one of the things that I think Taya was always managing as a player. But it has been great. I mean, her work ethic, from the day one has been one of the best I've ever coached. And so she brings that. There's an immediate respect from our players. They listen to her. And Taya has grown, her voice comes out now, and I joke around, some of the things that our captains are going through. And I was like, do you remember us talking about, empathy and giving hugs? And she just laughed. She's like, yes, coach, I do. So like she can also, make fun of me and tease me in a different way that I think is good for our players to see. But then she's such a competitor when they step on the floor. And that has really been a great role model for our players. Good. Thank you, guys.